So in Halo 2, there's a challenge on Cairo Station that is so difficult that only a handful of people have ever been able to pull it off. So can we do it? Let's give it a shot! So this challenge is very simplistic in nature, but very difficult in practice. The challenge involves getting all the way to the bottom of the map underneath Cairo Station, where you're basically floating in space, and then somehow finding a way to launch all the way up to the top of the tower on Cairo Station. Now, the main person who has pulled this off in multiple ways is a guy named Dr. Biz. And I believe that Dr. Biz was the first person to ever get to the bottom of the map and then launch all the way up to the top of the station. But I wanted to take it a step further. Not only was I going to try to get to the bottom of the map, I was going to launch up to the top of the station and then try to get back down without mods, without the acrophobia skull, in the way the Halo 2 Classic was meant to be played. Now, in order to be able to get to the bottom of the map, we were going to have to survive a fall that was several thousands of feet. But to do that, I was going to use a dead player that was alive. On this mission, you can do what is called a player merge that allows two players to get in the same body. And to do this, one player needs to go grab the weapons off of the wall and then kill a second player in the lobby. If they do this, they can then jump and beat down at the same time until they jump on top of this little ledge. Doing so will prevent a second player from being able to spawn in because there's not enough room above player 1's head. If done correctly, prompt to respawn for player 2 on player 1's screen will completely disappear. From this point, you can restart the mission. If player 1 goes and picks up the guns off the wall again, they can then kill player 2 in the exact same method that they killed them before. After player 2 dies and spawns back in, they then need to kill player 1. And if you do all of this exactly correctly without any mistakes, and the game decides to cooperate, you will both merge into the same physical body.
So I'm controlling it with a laptop. I'm in the same body, two players.
So the way that you can tell that you did this correctly is you'll see player's 2 green arrow right in front of your eyes at all times.
Here, let me look at the right direction.
Now, while this glitch is cool, it is unfortunate because player 2 is pretty much the only one who can control and shoot. They can throw grenades and shoot the gun, and they're also in charge of moving. So for the most part, when you do a player merge, one player is completely useless. And this glitch has some pretty weird effects. Once you get to the second room where the Covenant pods come in, when you go down the staircase and walk through this door, you'll automatically restart to the beginning of the mission. However, we can bypass this by throwing grenades and dying. Once we die, our players separate and the second player becomes a dead body while technically still alive. And with Halo 2's physics, we can beat him through the locked door to get further in the mission. If I die, I'll spawn on the other side of this locked door and I can continue to beat his dead body all the way through the mission until I get to a glass panel somewhere on the ship. Once at a glass panel, I could beat him through this and then get him to the bottom of the map pretty easily. Now, in order to revert going back to the very beginning of the mission again, you have to go to the right side entrance. If you hit this body through the right door all the way to the end of the hallway, you won't revert back. Now, once I got him to the upper deck up these stairs, and then cleared out the elites in the room, I tried to hit the second player's dead body through the panel, but unfortunately, he got stuck right on the ledge outside of the window. This meant I'd have to restart and try this again because he was not at the bottom of the map like I needed him to be.
Okay, that should be fine. What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna go and take one of the Miranda or Johnson down for unlimited grenades, essentially.
So with my second player outside of the map early, my plan was to now take either Johnson or Miranda keys all the way through Cairo Station to the outside and then launch them off the map. They'll have a very important role that we'll explain later. But if you have the feather skull enabled, it makes objects much lighter, so transporting them is very easy. You could just shoot them over and over. For my purposes, I picked Sergeant Johnson. The reason I have to get Sergeant Johnson or Miranda keys to the bottom of the map is because they're the only characters that can survive to the bottom of the map. If you knock them off the edge, they will go all the way to the bottom without dying. Now, once I pushed Johnson off the edge, I then went in the corner, threw a bunch of grenades, and died. But I didn't realize that my dead or alive player spawned from outside of the map back into this room. And I got pretty nervous for a second because I was not spawning in. It took an irregular amount of time, but eventually it happened. So I went over to my dead player and hit them out the door right about where I hit Sergeant Johnson down. It was very important that I hit both of them in roughly the same spot, or else it would be basically like finding a needle in a haystack with Johnson on the map floor.
Okay, I'm dropping him to the bottom. He's saying hello. Hopefully he lands somewhere near Johnson. He's still falling.
Luckily, once I spawned back in, I was able to immediately spot Johnson, so we were on our way. Now, the main reason that we need Sergeant Johnson or Miranda Keys is because they have the ability to generate infinite grenades. If we have the Pinata skull activated, we can just hit grenades over and over out of them. Eventually, when there's enough grenades on the map, it will overload the map. This will cause enemies to despawn, and you'll be able to get a checkpoint.
I'm moving Johnson forward so I can get a good aim at this.
But before we get to that, I first needed to go underneath Cairo Station in a position where I thought I could launch straight up to the top of the tower. This was far more difficult in reality.
I think I have pretty good aim there.
There's nothing really to see at the bottom of this map floor, and you're basically standing in space, so the reference points aren't the greatest. You basically just have to look up and say, I think that's lined up. Now, the Pinata skull also serves another purpose. With Johnson, my plan was to just hit a bunch of grenades out of him over and over so I wouldn't need to use a second player and have them regenerate their shields. I found out that this wasn't as effective as I thought it would be because the only way to prevent Johnson from going flying is by standing on top of his head. And if you hit him over and over, you're basically just using him as a vehicle. Because this was ineffective and I wanted to keep these grenades for overloading status, I just decided to throw a grenade at it and bust the whole pile. This was a terrible decision and I shouldn't have done this because 1, I sent Sergeant Johnson absolutely flying.
Oh my god, I blasted him so far over.
But also, my second dead or alive player went flying across the map, so I'd have to transport them all the way to the bottom of Cairo Station to get a plasma grenade pile set up. To get this plasma grenade pile set up, we would first need our second player back in normal form. And to do this, there's only one way. You have to hit them repeatedly over and over until eventually their body falls through the map and they disappear. Once this happens, they will spawn back in. We need them to be in an alive state so that we can hit plasma grenades out of them using the Pinata skull. For whatever reason, in the dead or alive state, this doesn't work. Now, in order to create a very large plasma grenade pile quickly, I put on the Streaking Skull before I did this. The Streaking Skull enables you to get up to double overshields by simply throwing grenades. So with player 2, I would throw frag grenades over and over and over, and with player 1, I would hit them in the back repeatedly to get a large pile of these plasma grenades. After I got this set up, I took a quick bathroom break, and once I tabbed back into the game, I accidentally pressed the throw grenade button with the second player standing right in front of me. Now, normally I would be able to reset this pile and it would be okay, but I lost Sergeant Johnson. Couldn't find him. So I had to restart the entire mission, 1 hour down the drain. Now, the second time I got to the bottom of the map floor, I used Johnson for the plasma grenade pile setup. He would go flying, but a plasma grenade would eject out of him. Then I would walk over to him again, hit him in the back, and another plasma grenade would go in another pile. This way I would have 2 piles opposite each other, and I could pick which one had the tighter plasma grenades to save time. I set up a pile of about 40 plasma grenades, and now it was finally time to try to launch all the way from the bottom of Cairo Station to the top of the Mac gun.
Too high. That might be a good one. This is weird because of the gravity. It's like I'm barely going up, but I'm also going up really fast.
So when doing this launch, it's extremely hard to tell exactly where you're going and how fast you're moving. What makes this so difficult is that we need to get the exact height to not die from fall timer. If you fall for more than a couple seconds, you will automatically die. And for this trick, I didn't have the acrophobia skull on, so I literally needed the perfect distance. The other consideration that I had that was not working out was I needed to make sure that I was launching through a gap in the station. If I didn't hit a gap at the perfect angle, I would hit something or be way too far away from the tower by the time I reached the top. Thus, I wouldn't be able to land it.
Close-ish.
But I was already 45 minutes into this and it wasn't getting easier. My grenade stack was the perfect height to either 1, go too high, or 2, be just short so that I couldn't make it. I decided that if I didn't hit it in the next few tries, I was going to make the painful decision to restart the mission, get this all set up again, but in a different position with a few less grenades.
Come on. This might be good. This might be perfect. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I either go way too low or way too high.
So this pile just was not working. I had too many grenades. If I didn't jump correctly, I wouldn't even come close to the station. And if I hit it perfectly, I would go way above the top of the station with no chance to live. My only option at this point was to set up another grenade pile with slightly less grenades. Before, I probably used about 50 to 60. Now I was planning on using anywhere from 25 to 40. Because I was using Johnson and the Pinata skull to generate plasma grenades, the plasma grenades would come out of him in a lackluster direction. For this reason, it took me 14 minutes to set up this plasma grenade stack because they were so spaced out. Once I got one of the bigger piles set up, I realized that I probably needed about 5 to 7 more grenades, and I had to move these approximately 60 feet. That part alone took multiple minutes. But although this was very time consuming, I wanted to do it right. took over half an hour to set this up again, but I found myself in a better position with a more manageable plasma grenade stack. Now, if I couldn't hit this, it was on me.
Come on, this could be it. Are you kidding me? Come on. There's no way. The further I go on, the further I get away from it.
So unfortunately, I once again could not pull off this launch with my current grenade pile. I had to get something out, and I had to land this. Really, the shot isn't given until it's completed. So I sucked it up, spent another insane amount of time setting this all up again with one final grenade pile. If I couldn't pull it off, fine, this challenge wins. I lose. But maybe, just maybe, one more grenade pile would get it done.
Could actually be it. Just keep going up. This is impossible. Keep going, keep going. This is crazy. No way. Come on. Boom! Fuck me. Oh, I didn't expect that at all. Horrible. Okay, now I gotta get down.
So although I made it to the top, now I needed to make it back down to complete this challenge. However, I did practice a ton before I tried this. If you long jump, you can get to the top of the other column at the top of the station. From here, if we line up with this dark line about halfway down the ramp, you can jump off the edge, and if you do it just right, you'll briefly get stuck on this corner. But if you go back and forth between the two angles of this corner, every time you swap from surface to surface, your fall will be delayed a little bit. And if you do it just right, you can make it all the way back down.
losing focus. Now we play the game.